Quinn here, back with Husky Happenings. This week we have Tanner with Kids Adventure Day, Iris with Open Enrollment, and Miss Kildee with a Q&A to learn more about her.
Hi, it's Tanner. Did you know that next week is Kid Inventors Day? The 17th is Benjamin Franklin's birthday, and we'll have a challenge for kindergarten to 5th grade to invent a solution to an everyday problem. The best invention will win a spot at Camp Invention coming to Holiday Academy. For the challenge, you'll just need to draw or paint an invention and describe how it works. This is an example of one. Good luck next week and dare to be remarkable. Bye.
How are you?
Hey Huskies! It's open enrollment time at Holiday Academy. Current Huskies need to re-enroll by February 7th so they can save their spot for next year. We hope lots of future Huskies are watching this. Open enrollment for new students is open until March 6th. Dare to be remarkable!
Happy New Year, Huskies! Before the break, the teachers and staff and students were asked to provide me with some questions that I could answer for you so you could get to know me better. So I have highlighted the best questions I think would help you get to know me. So, Max Russell from Mrs. McClellan's science class asked, what is Miss Kildee's favorite TV show? So I have several shows that I really like, but the ones that I think our Husky students would know the best are Young Sheldon, and when Big Bang Theory was on, I really enjoyed that too. So I really love Young Sheldon because he is a super smart elementary age student. I believe he's 10 or 11 and he is in high school. And it's really cool to me as an educator to see how young Sheldon navigates through high school when he is just a 10-year-old. And Victoria Lutz from that same class wants to know what my favorite color is. Well, if you see me every day at school, you would think my favorite colors are gray and black because that's what I wear almost every day, like today. But really my favorite color, believe it or not, is pink. I love pink because it reminds me of spring and I love to garden and my favorite color flowers are pink. Miss Barron's class would like to know what my favorite grade was in elementary school. I really think that my favorite grade was 6th. When I was in elementary school, my school went kindergarten through 6th grade, and I had some teachers in 6th grade that I just loved, and that made it my favorite grade in elementary school. Mrs. Finneran and Miss Burns both asked what subject area was my favorite to teach when I was a teacher, and Miss Burns will be happy to know that my favorite subject to teach was math. Even though one of my favorite hobbies is reading, I really like teaching math, and my favorite grade to teach math to was 3rd and 4th grade. It was just tons of fun for me. Miss White's class asked a really interesting question. They want to know, is Mr. Kildee that works here really my husband? No, he is not. Mr. Kildee, believe it or not, is my son. And he works with our middle school students, and he just loves his job here at Holiday Academy just like I do. Mrs. Fairbanks' class asked, what is my favorite thing to do when I have free time? Well, my most favorite thing to do is spend time with my grandchildren. I have 8. I have 6 granddaughters and 2 grandsons, and one of my granddaughters was born in November, and she lives in North Carolina, and so I have been visiting her, and they came here for Christmas, and that's my most favorite thing to do. My second most favorite thing to do is travel. Every year I try to go somewhere fun. Let's see. Mr. Craven's class asked, how do you feel about your granddaughters being at your school? Do you let them off the hook? Well, I think they would all tell you that the opposite is true. I have a granddaughter in 7th grade, 6th grade, and 1st grade, and they will tell you that I'm probably harder on them than on anyone else. Every single day I check to see if they have missing assignments. Every single day we talk about school, and I'm happy to say that they're great behaving students at school, but I probably am on them more than any other students at the academy. Mrs. Price's class said, "How and why did you decide to be a principal?" I decided to be a principal because when I was a teacher, once in a while the principal at my school would be absent, like they'd have to go to a conference or they'd be sick. So she would ask me to be principal for the day. It's called being acting principal, and I loved it. I really liked being in charge of the school, and I just loved meeting with students and parents and teachers in a different way than you get to be as a teacher in the classroom. And that same class asked, why did I choose to work at Holly Academy? And that's because Holly Academy had the job of curriculum director open, and I came to visit the academy before I decided whether I wanted to interview for that job, and I loved it. The director at that time's name was Dr. Ash, and he took me on a tour of the academy, and I saw how hard the students and teachers worked, and I fell in love. So I was really lucky then that when I interviewed for the job, I was selected, and I've loved it every single day since then. And that class also asked, do I have any hobbies, and what are they? As I've already said, I don't know if it's really a hobby, but I love being with my grandchildren. I love reading. I read every single day, just like you do, at least for 20 minutes, like you are supposed to, and normally for way more than 20 minutes. I love to travel, and I love to garden. And I like to hang out with my friends, just like you do. What was my very first job ever? When I was in high school, I worked at a department store called Hudson's. Now it's called Macy's, and I got that job when I was 16, and I had it for 18 years. So obviously I liked working there. Mrs. Idoni's class wants to know a little bit about my own kindergarten year. Guess what, Huskies? I never went to kindergarten. I think everyone knows that I was born in Wales, and in Wales you start school when you're 4. My mom called it real school. And so when I moved here when I was 5, I had already been in school for a year, and my mom took me up to the school in Flint to get enrolled, and they said I had to go to kindergarten. And my mom said, oh no, Julie's already had 1 whole year of school. I really don't want her to go to kindergarten. So when I was 5, I went to 1st grade. So I really don't have any memories of kindergarten. I do have lots of memories of being in 1st grade and learning how to read. And I loved all of it, everything about learning how to read. I loved the phonics. I loved learning sight words. And reading has been a great part of my life ever since then. Mrs. Horton's class wants to know, did I ever have a favorite student and why? I can't say that I've ever had one favorite student, but I've had several, and there's something in common about all those students. Every student that I remember most fondly from when I was teaching are those students that maybe weren't the best academically, but they were really good citizens, and they tried. They gave their academics their best, that they really tried hard, and they persevered, and they had grit. And those students always stand out. You always remember them when you think back because of how goal-oriented they were and how hard they tried. And Mrs. Horton's class also wants to know when I was a teacher and where. So I started teaching way back in 1992, and I was a teacher in Flint for 10 years. And my school was called Sobey School, and I met many wonderful students, and I have friends. My best friends to this day are the teachers that worked there and the principal that I had there. I loved every minute of it. Mrs. Malero's class wants to know what the qualities I remember in my favorite teacher when I was a student. Remember I told you earlier that I loved 6th grade, and I think I loved 6th grade because I had 2 teachers that really made a connection with me, and they had great senses of humor. Like, they would make learning fun, and they would joke a lot. And those 2 teachers' names were Mrs. Schofield and Mr. Grindstaff. And unfortunately, Mr. Grindstaff passed away, but Mrs. Schofield, once in a while, we have an email connection. I still talk to her once in a while, and I was in 6th grade a very long time ago. Mrs. Malero's class also wants to know if you could choose one destination to vacation in that you've never been before, where would it be? And my number 1 destination on my bucket list is Australia. But Australia right now is having a really hard time with the fires. And oh my gosh, it's really bad in Australia right now. But in the future, that's where I want to visit. It's my number 1 place. I've always wanted to visit Australia. And Mr. Summers' classroom wants to know, what is your favorite memory so far from your time at Holly Academy? Oh my goodness, I've had so many great memories. I can't really target one. However, what was really exciting is when we built this new wing that I'm currently sitting in the library, and when we had the ribbon cutting for this whole new part of Holly Academy. We worked a really long time to save for it, and when we broke ground on it and subsequently opened school that school year, there was so much excitement around it, and it was so much fun. But over the years, I have had so many wonderful students and have worked with staff that are the best in Michigan. And so I couldn't even tell you how many great memories I have. But I think the one that stands out the most is when we opened this wing. So Huskies, I hope you've learned a little bit more about me. Thanks for sending your questions, and I know we are going to have a great new year.